There was some comments at the beginning about the importance of music.
Yep.
And you opened this event with music, and I've been beginning to open my events with music. And part of the reason that that's very much worthwhile and has to do with this drum beat that underlies everything is that music is a manifestation of something like the joyful spirit of harmonious play. And it's not semantic, right? It grips you and it sets the tone.
I've heard you say something before about this. You said that music was impervious to refutation.
It's impervious to rational. The meaning of music is impervious to rational criticism.
Yeah, I think that was a very powerful way of putting it.
It's something, man. It's something to know. You know, and so with the musical manner in which the Quran is presented, a major part of that is the music, and the music speaks. We know the music speaks of layers of patterned harmony, and you talked about the individualism of the West, and I think that there's a flaw in that particularized conception that needs to be addressed by something that's more approximating a communitarian ethos. And I think you can understand that relationship to music because, look, to some degree, the three of us can sit on stage and everyone in the audience, we can be comfortable at the moment psychologically. So we're not too anxious and we're kind of engaged because there's a certain degree of playful harmony that we've established.
Especially with him now.
So there's some
my dark secrets about,
there's some
violence.
Fractiousness, right? But we're able to integrate that, and so that means we can remain calm. And so one of the things that indicates is that part of our ability to remain calm and focused is dependent on social integration. So you have to ask yourself, well, could you be sane if your marriage was insane? Could you be sane if your relationship with your children was too fractious? Could you be sane if you had no friends, if you didn't integrate yourself into the community and maybe the state and then maybe a higher vision? And as far as I can tell, the answer to that is no, you can't be sane by yourself. It's not merely a matter of psychological integration. It's not merely a matter of the isolated individual. And of course, we understand that in the West, although perhaps not as well as we should formally, because we'll punish criminals, for example, by putting them in solitary confinement. And that's another indication of the impossibility of, maybe if you were an expert meditator and a religious man, you could tolerate the solitude, but you probably wouldn't be a criminal then. So my point is that I view this process of integration as a multi-layered process that involves the integration of the community all the way up to the highest place. And that highest place has to be a unity, as Jonathan pointed out, or we're divided. And so we might want to seek amongst us as much as we can for a common unity, at least start with that. And that's what we're trying to do in this conversation.
Yes, but unity is different to uniformity. So I say the difference being is that, in the Islamic discussion or discourse, it's like there is a verse in the Quran, in fact, it says, "Lakum dinukum waliya din." You have your religion, we have ours. We can demarcate and still tolerate. That's the point. And I think
appreciate even.
Yeah, even appreciate.
That would be good.
We can even love each other. It's
no
issue at all.
I don't know if we can manage that.
No, I think we can. I mean, that's the thing. Going back to the message to Muslims, I think this is where. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been to a Muslim country?
Yes.
Which ones have you been to?
I've been to Morocco, and I've been to Turkey, and. Now, have I been to any other Muslim countries? Not yet.
Okay.
There's many on the itinerary.
Go to a Muslim country with a Christian population. I'm originally from Egypt. Yeah, we've had Coptic Christians there for years. Yeah, we've had them for 1,400 years. I mean, they were there before the Muslims came, right? And the point is that if you go to Ghana, go to Nigeria, this bleak image of Muslims and Christians kind of fighting each other, I don't think that's what's really going on. I'm not saying that there's no grievance there when the Christian community is in Muslim majority lands. That would be a lie and that would be false and that can easily be refuted. What I am saying is that it's not as bad as you think. If you go to these countries, you will not find, I do not think you will find what's going on, for example, you're talking about Hindutva, in India with the Muslim minorities in a Hindu, supposedly, majority, which is a peaceful religion. What's going on there? What's going on in China with the Muslim minority there? Or, for example, may I add, sorry to say, but what's happening in Palestine as well. So,
I don't want to paint any large-scale endeavor with the brush that's, let's say, dipped in the blood of its worst excesses. I don't think that's helpful because then we're all irredeemable in some real sense. I think it's much wiser for us to see what we see what we can jointly celebrate and see if we can manage that in something like a spirit of ignorance and hope. You know, because one of the things I learned a long time ago, it was very helpful for me as a clinician, was that if everything wasn't perfect around me all the time, it was probably, at least in part, because I was much less than I could conceivably be. And one of the things I learned from Carl Jung, who's a great thinker, was that what you need most will be found where you least want to look. And yes, well, and it's almost by definition, right? Because you can imagine that you're most likely to be most ignorant about what you're most afraid of and most contemptuous of. And so by definition, that's the last place you want to look. And if you're an advocate of a given religious faith, one of the last places you might want to look is in the wisdom of an alternative faith.